Welcome everyone to Minnie Chats. So today's conversation, we're going to discuss our statutes, a reminder of our inferiority or an honor to historical giants. What does a statue really represent for them?
For me personally, a statue is more a representation of how Britain is able to kind of rewrite history and only tell one side of history.
No, you might not tell us the good and bad of it all, but you put them up for meaning.
It's just a reminder of what they've done. It's a celebration of the person's life, basically.
And it just represents, how white supremacy or white power is still in play today.
Would you see it as a celebration?
No. Statues to me, it's akin to an epitaph in the cemetery.
They're heightened for a reason. They're made of certain metals for a reason.
We see statues all over the place and we don't really stop and look. We don't know who they are. We don't know what they represent.
If they have to, say, see that person on their commute every day, knowing that that person did what they did.
It just brings it to the forefront what these statues are now. And I think people going forward, we're all going to be looking, how much information can I get from this person before I take a picture of it or stand next to it? Because that's the thing we do. We stand next to a nice looking statue. Don't know what it represents.
When we see a statue, we only see one side of it. We don't see the history behind that statue.
Do you guys think that the way that they pulled down the statue was the right thing to do?
I don't tolerate lawlessness at all.
How they disposed of him was very significant with how slavery was. It made sense to me that he was thrown over into the water like 19,000 people that died on his ships did.
Two wrong can't make a right, and I don't think the statue should have come down the way it did. However, I think it shouldn't be there in the first place and should have been removed.
It's a reminder of the oppression that has gone in the past.
We have to tolerate some level of lawlessness. It was because of rebellion why we got our freedom today.
A lot of people might be upset the way it came down, but if you've been waiting for so long, petitioning for so long, nobody hearing you, so people getting upset, so they took matters in their own hands.
I'm glad it came down at the end of the day, because if it didn't come down, it might never have come down.
But we need to understand the country that we live in and what these symbols mean to them.
Why are you going to celebrate somebody that killed 19,000 people and have his statue up there? And if I have to walk through Bristol seeing that, I'd be like, you don't care about you don't value my life either.
When specific groups become extreme in their behavior, we lash out and we talk about that. But when our community become extreme in our behavior, we tend to facilitate that behavior.
Why is it when the black person does something, it's lawlessness behavior? However, when a different race, possibly the white race, is classed as passionate?
The people represented with these statues or memorials, they were more unlawful. We can never be as unlawful as those people they're celebrating. Personally, I am not happy how it was done, but at the same time, I don't think there was ever going to be a better way of it being done.
I don't think it was a violent protest. I don't think it was a peaceful protest. I just think it was a form of protest.
That what happened in Bristol was vandalism.
I don't think that anyone here thinks that it wasn't an act of vandalism. The actual word lawlessness just described just as uncivilized.
But it was uncivilized. Come on, it was.
How you feel if they approach it differently? What's that different approach would have been?
Yes, the statues are coming down, but the real change, that's not the real change. The real change comes from legislation being put in place.
Them pulling it down now is a part of history. That is not going to be forgotten. The way he came down, how he came down.
How far are we willing to go to be pulling down statues?
No, we don't need to go topple down another statue because people will go to prison for that. But it will now put pressure on MPs. I
feel like we need to put more of our effort into actually dealing with this system and dealing with the effect that it is having on our society.
The other statues that have come down over the UK, they would not have come down if they didn't pull Colston down. It was because they were worried they were going to get pulled down in the same manner.
British history is too ingrained in imperialism and colonization to ever be, kind of taken down in terms of statues or monuments.
Because to some people, it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. Slavery is almost normal to them.
There are tons of buildings across the UK that are made from the capital of slavery.
I relished in that one when it came down, and when everybody rushed in and trampled on it, it gave a power tiny bit of victory. Tiny bit of victory.
I don't think it's the responsibility of a school to teach a child about their history. Until we start building schools, building our own hospitals, having our own supermarkets, then we can challenge the change.
Don't you think that would cause segregation again?
Whether you're Black British or you are white British, it does not matter. It shouldn't have to matter. Yes, I understand where he's coming from, Pete, but do not accept that. That is not the fight right now.
Unfortunately, the situation is we live in England, so we have to learn to live together.
We want the kids to learn exactly what happened.
I think it needs to start. I think the younger generation is where you can change minds, because there are people I'm talking to now in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and they're never listening.
Is that as a Black community, because we consume so much, we're not segregating ourselves from you. However, let's build our own community. We have our own community, but yet we're still part of the wider community. Because the Jewish people, they lobby all the time. They're part of the bigger community, but they also have the inner community.
Our history of what we've gone through as Blacks is very similar to what the Jewish has had, but they've always had money. We have not had that. So you can't expect Black people to just spring up a school or spring up a community out of absolutely nothing.
I appreciate what you want the Black community to do, but without the support of the actual economy itself, we're not getting that. If they don't start ripping apart systems and institutions as they stand now, we can't build onto something corrupt.
All we do is blame the white man. The white man this, the white man that. But the white man could not have break our security if we didn't allow them.
The weapons that the Brits had and the weapons compared to what African
war.
Nation had, it wasn't a fair fight. You can't say, oh, we're blaming the white man for...
They had guns. They had guns.
We didn't just plop up in Britain by chance. This is a history of being brought here, and now we're here. So now we're here, what you can do for us is at least let the people know that we live amongst, that this is what has happened. British colonial history will include us, will include Indians, it will include all of them. And it's not just our history. My history of slavery is also your white history of your ancestors and their part in slavery. It is not just Black history at all. It is all of our history, and they like to gloss over that bit. But the government has always had a thing of never really telling the people on the ground what's going on.